The Average Meat Channel, everybody. Happy Sunday. I hope that you had a great week. If you're watching this later, I hope that you're having a good week. I'm Mark, and this is going to actually be a pretty short live stream. I would be surprised if this goes more than half an hour. So, as the title indicated, my credit card is compromised again. And quite frankly, it's even worse than it sounds. I do have to check in to make sure that I am live on the channel. I know it usually is, but I always like to double check that just to make sure that we're going out there and that everyone is hearing me okay and all of that good stuff. So, yep, it looks like we are in good shape. So, if you're watching this, don't forget to give me the thumbs up. So, why is this worse than it sounds? Well, I have had my credit card compromised in the past. Oh boy, all of a sudden I got an itchy nose. I apologize. That was the least professional thing that I could do um, on a live stream. Oh, I guess I could imagine other things that would even be worse. But all right, where were we for this nonsense? I've had my credit card compromised quite a bit, actually. When I used to travel, I'd be in a different city all the time, giving your credit cards to waiters and people on airplanes and everything else. It's happened to me, I don't know, 3 or 4 times probably in the past 15 years. So I know that it's okay. There's not a lot that's going to happen. Credit card companies are really good at catching suspicious activities, and I'm sure it's even better now with AI and all of that. But they recognize the spending patterns, and if they're not yours, and there's something that these ne'er-do-wells, these rascals, these miscreants do when they steal credit cards. Almost always, they make some small, apparently insignificant purchases, and for whatever reason, when they do this stuff online, they try to test it with a $1 transaction. They try to take a dollar out of the account, put a dollar in the account, something like that. I did that with mine 3 times. And then they made a purchase at a pizza place. And they did one other thing that we didn't even get to before. They said, okay, we're going to put a freeze on this credit card for now. And I said, wait, 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 wait. We've identified the problem. Do you have to put this on a freeze? Here is the problem that I never really talk a great deal about here on the channel, but um, it's complex and complicated, but I am the power of attorney for my in-laws. And my father-in-law is not really in a position where he can manage on a daily basis, a day-to-day basis, um, some of the things I take care of for him. So it's not my credit card. I have um, privileges to use that credit card, and I have one of those credit cards in my name, but it is his account. And that was the problem because my wife was his durable power of attorney. And as you may know, my wife passed recently, and I didn't get, I've been hustling and bustling, and my mind has not been in a good place uh, these past few weeks, as you might imagine. So one of the things I just didn't do is get my power of attorney documentation to this particular credit card. And so they froze the card, which is really a bad thing because all of the things that I do for my in-laws, well, much of it is done with those cards. And I know that that particular credit card has some auto payments on it and that kind of thing. So it may be a real nightmare and a headache for me over the next couple of weeks. I already did fax in the appropriate documentation to them already today, and my POA validation and endorsements and all that. But we'll see what happens. But it's another lesson to everybody why you should have a credit card and not a debit card. I cannot stress this enough because a debit card, once they start using a debit card, they have that money. It's gone because a debit card, the way a debit card works, is as soon as they spend, it comes right out of your account right away. That's where it's not like a credit card where you're purchasing on credit. And then at the end of the month, you pay all that off. So they don't have the money from me with a credit card. They have it from the credit card company, from that bank. So that's the way it works. And uh, I don't have an obligation if they would have purchased anything, which, they got a pizza. Um, I'm not responsible for those purchases. So that was kind of nice. But anyhow, it was just something I don't like to deal with. I wish it hadn't happened, and yet it did. So what are you going to do? And also, if I wanted to have this taken care of immediately rather than send in the documentation, I could fax the documentation. Who in the world has a fax machine anymore? Back in the 90s, I had a fax machine in my house. Boy, I thought I was on top of the world. I thought I was Mr. Businessman with a fax machine in my home. So I found out that there is a company, a friend of mine helped me out with this, called Fax Zero, faxzero.com. So I use them. And if you just have a few pages, I think up to 3 pages, it's absolutely free. And I think I only paid like $2.95, that to have that fax sent to the credit card company. So it worked out pretty well. I was able to remedy it. Now, it's not done yet. I mean, I've taken care of it as much as I can at this point, but the card is frozen, and that's not good. So I've got to get that account opened up again. And I've been dealing with frozen accounts forever. When my wife passed, they froze all the accounts that were in her name. And, I'm still trying to get a handle on all that. So that's where we are. This week, boy, what happened? I saw those lizards, the iguana. I hate seeing the iguanas in my neighborhood because iguanas they're bad. They're invasive species. They're not natural to indigenous to Florida. And I don't know why people feel that they have to have these exotic pets. It's something that feeds their ego. And then they get released into the wild at some point, and then we get them, and they dig and they kill the vegetation, they eat the roots from underneath. It's my understanding anyway. And they will dig underneath pavements and sidewalks, and they just cause all kinds of problems. And it's always open season on iguanas here in Florida, as long as you um, dispose of them, kill them in a humane manner, is the way the law states. So I don't like them, but it was a interesting thing to see an iguana and that big alligator within like 30 feet of each other. Thank you, Ryan. Within 30 feet of each other. I've seen that gator there 2 times now within a 2 or 3 day period. I'm guessing that's a female gator, and there's really no way to, well, I suppose another gator knows, but there's no way to easily tell male from female gators. But it's in that same spot, and I'm betting that's a nest. I'm going to start keeping an eye on that area. Real easy to spot from the sidewalk. It's only 20 or 30 feet off the sidewalk. So uh, I'm going to keep my eye on that and see if that is an alligator nest, which means mating season is coming up in a few months. And if that is a nesting area, there might be alligator eggs and there might be little alligators. So I don't know, could prove to be interesting. But someone pointed out in chat or in the comments that the Nile monitors may soon become a problem. And they are absolutely correct. Those Nile monitors are another invasive uh, lizard that for some reason, they're being found in Florida now. So are gators overly aggressive in guarding nests because that could be a problem? I don't know. I think they're probably like any animal. If they sense that you are a uh, threat, I don't think just walking by on the sidewalk, they're going to be sensing that you're a threat. Now, if you very foolishly approach them, that's probably another story. I mean, I'm not an alligator expert, Ryan, but my experience, I see them on a very regular basis. I have never noticed any aggressive behavior from an alligator. And have I ever seen a nesting alligator? I don't know. I may have walked right past them and not known it. But I'm not going to worry about it. I think people get overly frightened with things like alligators. I don't think it's necessary. Pumpkin pie. How's that for a transition? Pumpkin pie. I love pumpkin pie. Ever since I was a kid, I've loved pumpkin pie. It's hands down my favorite pie. I mean, I do like French silk. It's like eating chocolate pudding. I think we've talked about this before, maybe on New Year's Eve, but I just love pumpkin pie. And so I had an interesting experience this week with pumpkin pie. Um, Karen's cards were compromised just yesterday. It makes me think may have been a bigger breach. I hope not. I doubt it because I don't think everybody's going out and buying Domino's pizza, but you never know. So, Ryan, you like pie in general, huh? Well, I'll tell you, I've always liked pumpkin pie. And so, um, after the holidays were over, like old Mother Hubbard, I went to my cupboard to see what things I had. And there was a can of pumpkin, and I had a can of evaporated milk, not sweetened condensed milk, but evaporated milk. And I had some sugar, and I had some pumpkin pie spice. So I thought, by golly, I'm going to try my hand at a pumpkin pie. I have never in my life made a pumpkin pie. There was a frozen pumpkin shell in my freezer. Now you might be wondering if I don't make pumpkin pie, why don't I have all this stuff? I had guests in my home for the holidays. So anyway, so I thought I'm going to try my hand at this, and I don't know how to make a pumpkin pie, so I kind of know mix it. Maybe it was in my blood because my father was a baker, but um, what did I do? I threw in I think about 3/4 cup of sugar, and I sprinkle a little salt in there and a little bit of pumpkin spice, about a tablespoon of that, and I poured in the evaporated milk and I stirred it up. It looked good, and I poured it into the pan. And I read somewhere uh, I mean, everything's at 350 degrees, right? And I figured I couldn't go wrong with that. And it turned out superb. It was fantastic. It was as good as anything that I would buy at Publix. So I was really, really happy with my pumpkin pie. I still have about a third of it in the refrigerator. I haven't started that New Year's Eve diet and exercise program that everybody starts yet. I'm still devouring all the leftover goodies from the holidays. But anyway, I had the Max. People don't want to see that side of you. Okay, so I did have some left over that wouldn't fit in. Be a good boy, Max. Turn around. I did have some leftover pie filling that wouldn't fit into the pie crust. So I decided I'm going to try sort of to make I don't know, just like a custard or something out of it. So I poured it into a smaller dish and I baked it for a smaller period of time. And that turned out really good. So I made a video. I haven't posted it yet, but you can see how everything worked. It was actually pretty cool. And I found out that this rascal behind me, this guy right here, Max, you have a sweet tooth, don't you? I found out that he just loves whipped cream. So he has been gobbling down the whipped cream. So now I got to give him just a little dollop of whipped cream, or he'll be crawling on my shoulders and wanting to eat my pumpkin pie. So that's my pumpkin pie story. And um, Ryan, you just love my cats, don't you? Um, so anyway, I got a Christmas gift this year. Um, my daughter and her boyfriend bought me a telescope. And I just happened to be saying, boy, it gets really dark here over the Everglades. I'm right on the edge of the Everglades, so I don't get the city lights or anything like that. And it gets really, really dark. And I just mentioned an offhand remark. I said, it'd probably be really good to have a telescope here. And they bought me a telescope. So I set it up the other night. It's really cold here in Florida right now. Um, In the morning, it's like in the upper 50. I know that those of you in the north are saying, "What are you talking about? Really cold?" But I mean, it's cold for Florida, and so it's been kind of chilly. But I went out there the other night and I set up this telescope, and it took a lot to set it up because I know nothing about telescopes. But it's really cool because it has a little motor and a computer on it, and once you get it set up and you can aim it at something, it will track it. And as I was looking at things, I was watching the app that's hooked up to this telescope, and I could see that the latitude and longitude was slowly changing, and it was keeping it on 23 ice, rain, and snow here. And where are you, Ryan? Where you have this despicable weather, this terrible weather? Uh, Karen, what have you got up there right now? So anyway, it was chilly, but it wasn't cold. I mean, I was out there in my shorts and short sleeves. But the mosquitoes were terrible. That's right. You're there in Kentucky, aren't you, Ryan? Um, oh, meteor shower. That would be a good thing to see on a telescope. I don't know what quistrantids is. Quistrantids? Am I saying that right? I have no idea what that is, but what happened to my Wisconsin blood? I said I was out there in short sleeves and in shorts. I just said it's chilly for Florida. That's all I said. I didn't say that I couldn't handle it. I didn't say that, I was wimping out and going outside because oh my goodness, it's a chilly 50. I just said it's cold. It's chilly for Florida. But it was the coolest thing. I could see the rings of Saturn. I could see Jupiter and the lines on Jupiter. It's not a powerful enough telescope. I couldn't see the red spot, the storm on Jupiter, but I mean, you could clearly tell it was Jupiter. That I could see that, the horizontal lines on there, and it was so cool seeing the stars of or the rings of Saturn, quadrantids. I still can't say it just because you typed it correctly now. Do I plan on doing telescope review? I don't know enough about that. There are telescope channels aplenty out there that I'm sure will have neat stuff. I've done something like this once before. I was on, I was out in California. I think where would it have been? Somewhere in LA on, one of those beaches that you'd know the name of. But anyhow, I was on one of those beaches and there was a telescope club that had set up about, I don't know, 8 or 10 telescopes. All the people brought their individual, and they were letting just the public line up and you could look through the telescope. And that's the first time that I've seen like the rings of Saturn through a telescope. And I thought it was neat. And now I can do that in my own backyard. And I was looking at Venus, and Venus was only like in a half stage right now. And that was really neat to see. So I am, at the risk of turning into a space nerd, I was kind of excited. It was fun. And I'm looking forward to getting to know other celestial bodies and, you know, seeing what I can see out there. It's a little bit to go out and set the thing up. So it's not going to become a regular, evening thing for me, but every now and then I'll go out and set it up and see what I can see. So, um, okay, I just have to look up quad quadrantids. No, I'm not going to look it up because someone else look it up. I don't know what that is. Karen, you're going to have to help me. Um, Chris, did you say I'm turning into a nerd? I think we're way beyond that. That ship has left a long time ago. And yet, I still have my Wisconsin old fashioned. So the Wisconsin blood is still here. And as I announced in a previous live stream, I am still seriously considering taking Amtrak from Miami to Milwaukee. It's an expensive trip, over $1,000 when you can do the same thing, on a jet for a buck and a half. But um, I just like to do it. It's about a 2-day trip, and you can get, I mean, it's not that expensive unless you get one of the sleeping compartments, which of course I would do because that's the way I roll, right? I'm not going to be like a peasant and just sit in coach. No, I'd really like to try that. And I found out I can take it just to Chicago and it's like another $22 all the way up to Milwaukee. So I would. It's CB, just a meteor shower that's active right now. Pronounce it better than I could. So how long is this meteor shower going to be active? Is that just in the northern part of the United States, or is it something you can kind of see all over? I was just seeing I was actually on YouTube today that there is some meteor that is heading our way in 2029, and then it'll roll back around in 36, I think, or 34. And they think it's possible that when it comes through in 29, if the Earth's gravitational pull affects it, it could collide with Earth. Let's see, 36, 25, 11 years. Yeah, I guess I might still be alive. I don't know at that point. Ends the 13th. The height was the third. Okay. And is it real visible with just viewing with without binoculars, telescope, or anything? With your bare eyes? No, Ryan, that kind of, but people they like to raise, uh, concerns like that. If you don't have enough to be worried about, they're going to talk about meteorites colliding with Earth. Like how many times that happened since the dawn of modern civilization? Never. I don't know. It killed well, there was one hit in Russia once, didn't it? But that was just a little one. This one's supposed to be really, really big. So, what else is going on in your world, everyone? I'm back to work, and I'm not putting in a lot of days. I've sort of slipped back into part time, and I'm finding I can live pretty comfortably on a part time income. So I may not go back to full time. I don't know. I love my job though. So sometimes when you like what you do and it gets you out of the house, I might keep doing it. 35 years down the line, Mark will be streaming for nursing home, reviewing different flavors of medicine. They could be medicine. Is that what? I don't know. In the nursing homes, they talk about something, in those nursing homes, it's just like being back in middle school again, right? There's all the bickering and the cliques and everything else. So maybe we'll have wheelchair races round and round. 35 years. 35 years. How old will I be in 35? Wow. Yeah, maybe. Maybe I could still be at it, right? All right. I said this was going to last about a half hour, um, but I don't know. I That was my agenda for tonight. I I'm getting real lazy with the live streams. And I did live streams for years and years on the other. Well, I actually was on this channel, wasn't it? But then I had topics and everything. I'm going to have to start being have a little more planning and do some topics. So rather than just the week in review, right? Did you retire fully from your job in Wisconsin, start something new in Florida? Did you just move to remote work within the same company? I did not retire, and I'm not with the same company. I left the company. I settled down here, and I started working for a completely different organization. It's still kind of in the same capacity, but I don't have to travel. So as much as I loved the travel, the travel took me to places I probably never would have seen if I didn't have that job. And I certainly wouldn't have been able to do it on someone else's dime. I mean, I've already been to Hawaii, a handful of times, but to go to Hawaii and have someone else pay for it, uh, that's a special treat. To visit Alaska, have someone else pay for it, that's really neat. I fell in love with Halifax, and I never would have gone to Halifax. And I've been there, a bunch of times now. I never would have gone there if I didn't have that job and someone else was paying me to go to Halifax, and just different areas that I never would have gone to. So I'm glad I did it, but after 10 years, um, it started to get old, the travel, and I was ready to kind of settle down. So I'm still doing presentations. I'm still in the capacity of a public speaker and a program facilitator and a presenter, but I just do it in a little different way. Speaking of travel, any new hotel tours coming up? I don't know. I don't know. I don't have anything planned. The hardest thing right now about travel for me, I have the time and I have the wherewithal and I have the inclination. I just also have two cats. So getting someone to care for the cats in a way that I would like my cats cared for is the problem. I have great neighbors. I have neighbors that say, we'll look after the cats. I think if I could do a combination of hiring someone to come in a couple times a day and then have the neighbors stop in as well, might be a good mix that would help me feel comfortable leaving the cats. No, Ryan, I'm not doing it from home. I'm still going. I'm still going to work. I was doing stuff from home, um, during my wife's illness, but it was in a little different. I had a different role. I was doing some um, facilitating of programs virtually and through the internet, but not really. I had other responsibilities and other job duties. But right now, I'm just getting back to spending the full day in front of people. So that's how it is. So my home base. Yep. My home. Oh, is that what you meant? Doing it from home. I thought you meant working from home. I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. It is nice. It's nice to be able to do that. So what else is going on? I scratched my arm bad. I was at the grocery store before I came here, and I was trying to, get everything in on one trip. And I was going through the door. I just scraped my arm up here, and um, oh, I got about four scratches on my arm now from when I scraped that door, and the lock and the deadbolt and the uh, what do you call it? Just the thing that goes in and out into the door jamb. It all scraped and scratched me. So that was my injury of the day. All right, everyone. So I think what we're going to make this one short and sweet. That way, the people that watch this later that aren't interacting can watch the whole thing. So I want to thank you for watching. I know that you have better things you can be doing, and I appreciate that you spend some time here with me. As always, if you haven't already, like the video, share. If you haven't already, please subscribe. If you do subscribe, click that bell icon. That way you know when I post new videos. Thanks again. I'm Mark, and this is